Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to one of Telecom Review webinars under the theme of Autonomy Everywhere, how AI is rewiring networks and OSS BSS in partnership with TM Forum. I'm Issam Eid. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Telecom Review Group, and I will be moderating you today. So we're at an inflection point. The networks and systems that power our digital world have become too intricate, too dynamic, and frankly, too critical for manual management alone. So basically, in other terms, you can think of it like moving from driving a car manually to having a self-driving system where the network actually can monitor itself, fix problems, and adapt without waiting for human intervention. Today's operators face an impossible choice: either embrace AI-driven autonomy or fall behind. And over the next hour, we'll be digging into the architectural changes this demand, the standards, and the partnership shaping the ecosystem, and the critical question every operator is asking: how do we unlock the power of autonomy while maintaining control, accountability, and compliance? It's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed panelists. We have Mr. George Glass, the CTO of TM Forum; Seda Dolen, the VP and Head of OSS BSS Ericsson Europe, Middle East, and Africa; Alexis Koalla, Director, Operation Strategy and AI Transformation at Orange; and Li Sha, Senior Expert and AI Engineer at China Mobile. I would like to give you maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute just to introduce yourself quickly. I will start from George, please.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you are. I'm George Glass. I'm the CTO at the TM Forum. I've been in post for 8 years, and I'm driving the transformation of the autonomous networks across our industry using our open digital architecture. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in my responses to some of the questions we've got set up.
Thank you, George. Seda, please.
Thank you, Issam. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Seda Dolen, and I'm responsible for the OSS and BSS for Ericsson in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So basically, I'm working with different CSPs in the region in terms of 5G monetization, digital transformation, autonomous networks, and I hope I will share my experience during the panel session.
Thank you, Seda. Alexis, please.
Yeah, thank you, Issam. Everybody, hello. I'm Alexis Koalla, so I'm working at Orange, and I'm leading two activities. One is operating model evolution for Orange Group, embracing and supporting all the affiliates to embrace and make their operating model evolve, more efficiency, autonomy, and so on. And since January, I'm driving and leading autonomous network program inside Orange, leveraging all the standards and supporting also the evolution of the OSS, or urbanism, and also moving to more agents. And I will come back on some of my answers from the question we'll be tackling during this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Li, please.
Oh, thank you, Ethan. And hi, everyone. I'm Li Sha from Network Department of China Mobile. I'm also a senior expert in AI plus network projects and also an engineer working at AI platform recently. And I'm very glad to join today's panel discussion. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Li. Thank you. So let's start with our first question, which is quite interesting, huh? How operators are using AI to change the way we work. George, TM Forum has been mapping autonomous networks for years. At what point did the industry shift from treating autonomy as a long-term vision to an immediate operational priority?
Yes, the change came about 2 years ago, and we noticed that our members on the operations side, so the service providers, were starting to make public statements about how they were going to achieve AN level 4, which is the first level of autonomy that actually is dependent upon AI, by 2025 or 2026. And those looked like quite bold statements at the time, because we'd been developing the AN technical architecture. We tested many of the concepts, such as intent-based operations and closed-loop controls, using the TM Forum Catalyst program, where the members had collaborated and built out working demonstrations of some of those capabilities. And then members were beginning to realize that they had the confidence to invest in those solutions because they were viable. But we realized that this was an enormous problem. We were trying to transform the network estate of large operators, which involved many domains and many different technologies. So we subdivided the network and the IT management into a set of scenarios. The members identified the high value scenarios, those with the biggest ROI, return on investment, or the area with the most pain. And if we had a technical solution available that we had previously tested, and we started to see members implementing those high value scenarios, and they were starting to achieve high level 3 and even into level 4 outcomes of autonomy. And the results were phenomenal. And that's what started to change the industry, moving away from it as a long-term vision to becoming an immediate operational priority.
Thank you, George. Seda, as autonomy spreads across the OSS BSS stack, where does the vendor hyperscaler delivered AI end-to-end operator-owned intelligence begin, and does that boundary actually matter?
To be honest, I see the boundary between the vendor, hyperscaler AI, or an operator-owned intelligence is becoming less relevant over time. I think what really matters is who takes the accountability on the outcomes rather than who builds each component. So in practice, hyperscalers are very strong on delivering the AI scale and capabilities. And then vendors are bringing the telco verticalization, basically bringing the domain-aware models, workflows, and then automation embedded into the OSS BSS at scale. But I believe the main differentiation, of course, is going to sit on the CSP side, because on how data is going to be applied on their, how AI is going to be applied on top of their data, their customer and operational processes and priorities. So rather than a fixed boundary, I will take it more like a layered approach. The foundational AI should come from the partners. However, the decision making, the policies, and the service intelligence shall sit on the operator side. And that's where the trust, control, and the competitive advantage is going to be realized. So in summary, what I can say, does the boundary really matter? I would say in 3 areas. It's the governance, it's the data ownership, and really avoiding the lock-in. Beyond that, the success is how well these pieces from the ecosystem are integrated into each other in a closed loop and intent-driven autonomous systems. And I think this approach that I have seen in the discussions with the customers are supported in this way. And the most effective CSPs that I have observed are not the ones trying to develop everything by themselves, but they combine the right AI capabilities of the ecosystem with their own intelligence layer to create the differentiated and continuously learning outcomes.
Thank you, Seda. Let's hear the point of view from the operator side. Alexis, autonomy rewires decision-making as much as it rewires networks. What had to change internally at Orange for autonomous operations to take root across the full value chain?
Yeah, thank you, Isham. Great question. And also, it's a good transition from what Seda was sharing. At Orange, what we are doing is the first stone is to evolve or to rethink our OSS, urbanism, so that we can leverage the enablers from the technical capabilities to really set up the foundation and pave the way to autonomy. And this is technical, okay? Building the high-value scenario requires enablers and also a kind of consistency of our OSS across the affiliates. Then we are also defining the metrics for thinking about key business indicators with real business impact, and by prioritizing what matters for our affiliates. Because from affiliate to another one, it may differ the business requirements. So we need to have a kind of consistency, convergence to build, to leverage replicability and mutualization. This is from the strategic point of view and the vision, it is something to change. And we are working on that, because we cannot just support Orange France, Orange Romania, and moving to Mass Orange or Orange Slovakia. We need to have a kind of vision, and this is something that is changing because we have a big group, we are a big company with a lot of affiliates, and this is a kind of mindset on how driving operations at the group level, not just focusing on optimizing for an affiliate. And then we have the mindset, the culture of working with our partners or vendors. And this is through DevSecOps, really leveraging the way we are working with them. The boundaries Seda was evoking and talking about is also how we leverage real DevSecOps internally and also at the boundaries with our partners so that we can have this autonomy not just inside, but also extending to our partners. And finally, I may say the operating model. Autonomy is not just putting AI or a new technology internally in operation. It's also how we revisit and rethink, redesign our processes, our organization with new roles, new way of working, and also to really leverage cloud native and also GitOps, all these capabilities that sustain the autonomy. And finally, we need, and we are working on that, to think the way we will be building our AI agents and also consuming AI agents coming from our partners. This is what we call network agent factory or framework, if you want, to really leverage the way we will be tackling agentics and embracing agentic. A lot of things ongoing and internally, and I hope with the ecosystem, we'll be working together to move forward.
Thank you, Alexis. Li, how is China Mobile's AI plus network strategy redefining how productivity and operational performances are measured? And are new metrics emerging beyond traditional KPIs?
Thank you, Ethan. And thanks to the previous speakers for their insightful perspectives. Where at China Mobile, we're now moving beyond traditional KPIs to what we call the 3K framework: key business indicators, key effectiveness indicators, and key capability indicators. It's a top-down value-driven structure. KPI speaks to C-suite, which focus on core business outcomes such as cost efficiency. KEI are decomposed from KBI and reflect scenario-specific value delivery for domain executives. And KCI give R&D teams clear technical targets guiding improvements of intelligent capabilities. So it's a shift from optimizing efficiency to creating measurable value. And we believe this layer approach gives the industry a clear, replicable path for intelligent transformation. That's my sharing.
Thank you, Li. I'd like to move to the second question, actually, from static products to real-time experiences. Actually, no, from fault management to predictive cloud closed-loop assurances. I would like to start as well with George regarding what architectural shift are most critical for operators moving from reactive to predictive closed-loop assurance, please.
Yes, I think the two things that I'm looking at are primarily essential in the architecture, or the introduction of AI and the concept of a knowledge plane are absolutely essential to move from reactive to predictive closed loop assurance. The other concepts around the technical architecture for autonomous networks, such as intent-based operations, self-healing domains, and intelligent orchestration, are all essential to move from automation to autonomy. And it's whenever you get to autonomy that the real benefit kicks in, because what we're actually looking at is you have to think about the network differently. The network is becoming software, so you have to apply software engineering principles to manage it effectively. And that includes decoupling within the architecture so that you can isolate and then automate domains. And that's where things like the knowledge plane and AI comes in, because now what I've got is I've isolated a domain, and I can now start to build digital twins and models of that domain so that I can apply AI in a trustworthy, in a predictable, and in a secure manner to that domain. That will mean that I can actually manage the network services, the network resources, and the network domains in a standard way from a management and operational perspective through industry agreed open interfaces, whether they are REST-based, event-based, or agentic interfaces, as we see the emergence of A2A and MCP. And this will enable vendor agnostic management of your networks as you go forward, which is really a fundamental switch in how we manage networks from a service provider's perspective. This is essential if we are to achieve the response times required for truly autonomous networks that can self-heal before the user even detects that there's a degradation in the service. So you have to embed AI, you have to do it safely, and you have to manage it so that you can be sure that the AI that you're applying to your network is behaving as you intended and that you can trust the outcomes that it's going to deliver. Because what we're moving to is a scenario whereby previously humans changed my network every couple of weeks, and there was typically, that's where faults were introduced. Now I'm moving to agents changing my network multiple times a day, multiple times an hour, multiple times a minute, as we actually run autonomous sessions over our traditional network. And that means you've got to have that knowledge plane to really understand from a digital twin perspective, what's my network topology and what is this change going to do to it?
Interesting, George. I'd like to hear as well from Seda's point of view as well. AI models are only as good as the data they're trained on, of course. So, and telco data is notoriously inconsistent across domains. So how can operators solve the data quality problem before it becomes an AI quality problem?
Definitely, as you rightly emphasize, data quality is a fundamental concern when it comes to scaling AI. And in telecommunications, we all know that we do not have the problem of the lack of data. It is more like the fragmented or inconsistent data across the domains. And if we will not address that, we will not get the trust and also accuracy in the AI outcomes. So accordingly, we will not be able to scale the automation. So in order to address that, right, I wanted to highlight maybe 4 dimensions. The first dimension is how do we standardize through a common data layer? We do not need the perfect data, but we need an interoperable data. In most of the operators today, what we have observed, the same entity is defined differently across the network, IT, and the customer domains. And in order to address that, we need to align a common data models and ontologies across the service, resource, and the customer's domain so that the AI can simply scale. The second dimension is basically treating data, as Li has mentioned, as a product with clear ownership. And the data quality needs to be driven through domain level accountability with a clear defined KPIs. This means establishing a strong ownership, governance, and engineering the data quality at the level of ingestion. And of course, we cannot live without the AI in our times now. So we need to design the AI as part of the closed loop systems. Instead of working and waiting for the perfect data, key is to use the AI in order to continuously improve the data quality. In the areas like predictive assurance, we know that models can learn from feedback, from actions, and from the outcomes. And if we embark on this approach, we will not be only consuming the data, but we will be improving the data in the loop. And last but not least, of course, the architectural shift that needs to happen from the batch reconciled data towards the data fabrics and streaming approaches so that the data is contextualized in real time and then the decision making and act can happen on time. This is really critical, especially for the cases that George has mentioned on the digital twins, fault prediction, and autonomous operations. In that context, we are engaging with many customers, and the data management evolution is top on their agenda. What we are focusing is actually is how to turn data into a knowledge. And as George mentioned, with one of the tier one customers, we have implemented a knowledge base, knowledge plane, basically an information layer that combines the data, AI, and the reasoning to continuously monitor, analyze, and control the network intelligently. And I think this is a foundation in order to evolve in the autonomous network's maturity.
Thank you, Seda. Alexi, Orange operates across multiple markets and even multiple continents,
Yep.
but with different infrastructure maturity levels. So, how have you designed an autonomy strategy that works across all these networks without creating new silos?
Yeah, thank you, Isam. And thank you, Seda, for your highlights on the data. I may say the data quality, importance, and criticity in autonomous. And at Orange, to make an echo, we have launched what we call data democracy. It's making the right data available for the right usage and to fit the right business. At Orange, for autonomous network, we have started things 3 years ago, working on it and structuring the way to go. So phase one, we have started with what we call maturity assessment, okay? Maturity assessment, we have run it with all the affiliates. Isham, we lost you, or it's me? I cannot see you again. Thank you.
No, I'm here. No worries.
Okay. Thank you. I was afraid my network is playing with me, so not yet autonomous, my network, but yeah. We started with what we call maturity assessment with all the affiliates, checking where they are standing, the as-is, before moving to be, the vision and the target. And based on that, this output, we run it in 2023, okay? And then we have all the cartography, the map, where they stand. And we were focusing on fault management, monitoring, and change management for all domains. Just on the two, okay? Not others or processes. And based on that, we run what we call gap analysis between where they are standing and the level 4 requirement, the high autonomy, where we think or where the standards is showing as showed significant benefits. And based on this gap analysis, we have started 2 years ago to work on building high value scenario per affiliate, network domains, operational flow, and now since the beginning of this year, we are started to make a kind of convergence, alignment, and prioritizing the high value scenario for Orange Group regarding the priorities we have captured from the affiliate. And we will be providing the top 3, top 5 high value scenario where Orange as a group thinks that it's matter to move forward or to put a lot of energy or investment. And this consolidation will enable replication, mutualization, and also the way we are building our enablers and the tools. And the tools and the enablers will be used by all the affiliates, not only one affiliate, by all the affiliates. That's why we need to check what we have internally, and also what we can buy from our partners or vendors. And today we are stepping in the implementation. The implementation are already started with, I can say, a heterogeneous level of maturity across the affiliates, but we have started to implement some high value scenario, and hopefully, I think in the next coming months, we'll be sharing the first achievements.
Okay, thank you, Alexi, for your point of view on that. Li, with 110 million users already served, what does China Mobile's Jiutian-powered closed-loop assurance reveal about the future of autonomous network operations at scale?
Okay, thank you, Ethan. I'd like to share China Mobile's practical experience in Guangdong, which is, it just said, 9天 powered cross-domain fault management system. And the system is already serving 110 million users. And I think it reveals three directions. First, cross-domain closed-loop automation is a real driver of efficiency, I believe. We have implemented a full process automated closed loop from service keep alive to cross-domain auto diagnosis uh, to on-site handling to fault remediation and service auto reversion. This has reduced MTTR by 25% and saved over 100% years of labor per province. That validates unified data fabrics and AI-driven root cause reasoning across radio access network, transport network, and core network. I think that's a foundation for scaling autonomous operations. And secondly, the better model is human AI symbiosis. We have found that human AI collaboration delivers the best balance of reliability and efficiency. AI handles automated tasks like cross-domain diagnosis, service keep alive, and auto reversion, while human engineers only take part in critical steps like decision making and innovation. Third, the focus is shifting to our experience. With service keep alive and auto reversion, recovery moves from hours to minutes. Our focus is no longer just how fast we fix the network, but also does the user even notice degradation? Uh, in the future, networks will detect, diagnose, and heal themselves before users could perceive anything wrong. So the path is clear from single domain autonomy to cross-domain collaboration and ultimately global intelligence with intent-driven and human AI symbiotic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Li. I'd like to move to the third question. From static products to real-time experiences. I'd like to start with Seda this time. Seda, most OSS BSS stacks were designed for predictability, not real-time responsiveness. But what does cloud-native OSS BSS need to look like to make that shift actually possible?
We will not get the real-time experience by just cloudifying the legacy OSS BSS systems. If we will not keep the architecture, if we will keep the architecture as is and not do the architectural transformation, we will keep the same delays. So I would like to emphasize 4 domains that will enable shift to happen. The first one is evolution from the batch processes to event-driven processes. So everything from network to customer interactions needs to be processed as events in real time, not through a scheduled workflows. The second dimension is embracing basically decomposable AI-first capabilities, where we break the OSS BSS into microservices, which then dynamically compose in order to deliver the required speed and the flexibility. And the third dimension is the adoption of the real-time data, not the replicated data. And this is enabled through the streaming capabilities or in memory layers rather than utilizing the traditional ETLs, so that the decisions are made on live based on a contextual data. And of course, AI needs to be in the loop, not on the side. AI shall be embedded into the OSS BSS systems to drive the real-time decision making in policy control, in automation, in fault management, network optimization, next best action kind of use cases, not just on the dashboards and the assistants. So in summary, the real change will happen if the CSPs are going to embark shifting from static and predefined processes into an adaptive and outcome-driven OSS BSS systems that can sense, decide, and act in real time across the domains by design.
Thank you, Sarah. Alexi, how is this shift towards real time services changing how network capabilities are actually exposed to developers, enterprise customers, or digital partners?
Yeah, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Seda. At Orange, 2 years ago, we have created what we call LiveNet. It's a business unit that works on the exposure of APIs, of the network capabilities for developers, for digital partners, or B2B companies. So this business unit and the vision behind this business unit is to leverage how we call API for networks, focusing on which API we can expose and hiding the complexity of the networks, and also network as code, promoting the automation of how to deploy network capabilities, provisioning, on-demand configuration, reloading a network configuration in case of an issue. This is also capabilities for real time, and providing all the resources needed in a slice or something we can create on the fly. There is also the low latency and faster provisioning. I was talking about it, faster provisioning. This is real time needed. Look at an event, and we have experimented with first asset during the last Olympic Games in Paris 2024. And then we have created live event provisioning on demand capabilities, enabling edge computing and instantaneous access. And also there is also the real-time analytics. This real-time, we have also capabilities from the networks to really monitor, observe how the networks from the technical point of view is behaving, reacting to fulfill the requirement, the need of the users. And the real-time also service, there is also what we call personalization, tailored product or connectivity for the users. Because when you are traveling or you are in a live event, a concert or football game or something else, we need to personalize the way people are, our customers are using and consuming our network. And this is all about programming, being able to be flexible, and also ready to make things in an agile way. We have also the cooperation with the ecosystem, because we are not alone. Real time also require to work with the ecosystem, our partners and partners for the interfaces, to be able to use interfaces to work and to build, deliver, and to modify, upgrade, or update our networks. And this is, I think, the hardest part of the shift, because the ecosystem building the standardized interface to leverage these capabilities is not so easy. What we see from the ecosystem, we still need to work together. But because the benefit is obvious and huge, but the work to get it done is not obvious and easy. And finally,
still a long way.
Yeah, still a long way, a long journey. But I hope we have. I can see Seda laughing, but this is true, and also as well we came from with George. And real time also shift is also about the security. If you see something is attacking you or a cyber attack or something, you can correct and fix before you get dramatical. And this is really a shift from the traditional way we are operating our network to real-time network operations capabilities to react fast, to be able to fix and before getting in more troubles.
Thank you, Alexis.
Yeah, welcome.
That's good to hear that. I'd like to hear from Li, actually. Li, which real-time intent-driven use cases are already proving the strongest commercial return on investment?
Okay. I'd like to share two intent-driven use cases. Maybe one of the strongest commercial RA use cases in different scenario. And the first case is our government enterprise intelligent agent. The solution restructures pre-sales solution design. The agent converts customers' intents from natural language into structured requirements, cutting alignment sessions from 3 to just 1. Then it completes network planning and generates the full solution documents. So by using this solution, what used to take 4 or 6 days now takes under 30 minutes. That has delivered 3,000, no, sorry, 300% return on investment and over 10 million yuan in labor savings. And the second case is our wireless operation and maintenance agent, also the agent. The solution combines decision-making AI with generative AI for intent-driven end-to-end closed-loop automation. The system is now handling over 6,000 automated forward worker orders per month, eliminating manual acceptance, dispatching, and quality checks. That saves about 4 million yuan annually per province. So both cases prove that intent-driven agents deliver measurable and financial impact at scale.
Okay, thank you, Li. George, autonomy actually only delivers values if operators can measure it, right? So what frameworks is TM Forum developing to make these autonomous network operation accountable across the whole industry?
Yeah, this is really important, and it's something that we've been working on collaboratively with our members in the TM Forum. And Alexis mentioned it when he talked about Orange's journey, that you need to be able to measure where you are, and that's done using our AN level evaluation tool. And from that, you can define at each scenario for each AN level, what are the KEIs, the KCIs, and the KBIs, which Li mentioned, for each AN level. This removes ambiguity. So it's not just one measure that is associated with the scenario. So for example, if I'm looking at fault management, yes, the obvious measure is mean time to repair for a fault, but then we also introduce an automation metric to ensure that the solution is truly autonomous, that you don't actually achieve the mean time to repair by throwing lots of humans at the problem. So it goes, the two measures go hand in hand. Now, if you're trying to get value from your autonomous network, you need to understand what pattern you're building to, and that's where the transformation of the network by scenario, typically by high value scenario as the prioritized ones, utilizing the technical solution packages which have been defined by our members and describe the solution, down to the message sequence charts of the components, the agent, the API calls that actually say this is how you implement IP fault management or energy efficiency in the RAN. And we're working collaboratively with our members to abstract these architecture and design patterns to make them vendor agnostic so that any operator can use them as part of their network transformation roadmap. We're also then capturing the business outcomes, the KBIs that are being achieved with the implementation of these high value scenarios. And we'll be publishing those in a report at DTW for those that have been implemented. But we're also working with our members to normalize those and abstract them so that we can actually help create the business case for any operator that wants to build an AN level 3 plus or an AN level 4 solution. So effectively, we are developing a set of frameworks and tools that actually keeps the operators and vendor partnerships accountable across the industry for the implementation of their autonomous networks and gives them the ability to measure the outcomes that they're achieving.
Thank you, George. I'd like to move to our fourth question. It's from siloed OSS, BSS to API first platforms. I'd like to hear Li's opinion on how can API first transformation be maximized without overcomplicating the OSS BSS stack.
Okay, thank you, Isam. In my opinion, API first transformation is essential, but without guardrails, it makes OSS stack more complex. So we have found three principles that maximize benefit while keeping complexity under control. Firstly, use composable architecture. By following TM Forum's ODA, we break the whole system into modular, loosely coupled API-first components and evolve by business priority, piece by piece, without the risk of paralyzing the whole platform. And secondly, standardization is a cornerstone, I think. When every capability components talks through standardized interfaces, you can flexibly integrate different foundational models for different scenarios without creating a mess of custom integrations, just as the AI plus network solution. And third, maybe let business models drive API design, avoid over-engineering works. I think maybe each API should have a clear business goal behind it. So in summary, composable architecture is a method, and standardized APIs are the language, and the commercial use cases are the driver. So that's all from me. Look forward to others' views. Thanks.
Thank you, Li. Seda, API first platform are often framed as commercial evolution, but they're also an autonomy enabler. And what is unlocked actually when OSS BSS shifts from siloed system to open, instant-driven interfaces?
Precisely. I mean, API first often framed as a commercial evolution, right? But as Alexis also alluded, right, in practice, it's an enabler for something which is much more fundamental, which is an autonomy at scale. So in traditional OSS and BSS systems, every domain leaves behind on its own data model, on its business logic and workflows. And even when the systems are integrated to each other, the integration is fragmented and sequential. So, I mean, with this approach, we can, of course, achieve the automation, but we cannot truly coordinate the outcomes. With API-first, intent-driven platforms, the systems are not exposing anymore the functions, but they start exposing capabilities with context. So once this happens, we are no longer stitching point-to-point integrations, but we are allowing external intent to directly trigger and coordinate behaviors across the domains. That's where I believe the shift is happening. A service request or a network request or a customer experience insight no longer traveling through the layers of orchestration and translation, but instead it becomes a context aware in real time and trigger actions through the composable services. So this means the moment OSS BSS stops being a system of record, it starts being a system of actions.
Okay. George, TM's Forum's open APIs are foundational to autonomous, interoperable operation, yet ecosystem adaptation remains uneven. What will it take to close the gaps?
Yeah, I really like Li's description of the composable architecture, and that's really what we've been trying to develop in TM Forum with ODA. The decoupling, the pattern matching, and the abstraction are essential for the implementation of such concepts as self-healing domains, or even right up at the business operations and the intent-based business operations. The technical solution packages related to high-value scenarios that have been mentioned by Alexis, they will drive the implementation and the adoption of standard interfaces and therefore gain traction with the industry. But remember, to deliver a truly autonomous network, an operator will probably need to reinvent their IT. The IT, the OSS, BSS needs to support autonomous operations and in itself be autonomous. This creates the opportunity for designing and building reusable components, essential if you want to deliver autonomous interoperable systems that ensure a consistent and predictable customer experience, will dramatically reduce cost and accelerate time to market or time to value. So as we see the composable architecture effectively realized through ODA, we will actually see more of our members adopting the autonomous capabilities, and that will actually close the gap in terms of the implementation of the open APIs. And when I say open APIs, I want to be very clear that they can be, REST-based, event-based, or agentic. So they support traditional transactional interfaces, they support streaming interfaces, and they support agentic interfaces. And that is where we need to get to with the evolution of the OSS BSS to an API-first platform.
Thank you, George. Alexis, I think you're very excited to speak because I'm seeing you, getting in front of the screen and then getting back. So this one is yours. As more open API-driven platforms are adopted, how can the telecom industry balance greater automation with accountability and regulatory requirements in mind?
Yeah, thank you, Issam, for this question. I was eager to jump in because what George was sharing is very insightful. And today we are working with TM on the convergence between ODA and autonomous network because we need to close really this gap if we want to use standardized API and leverage real OSS and BSS capabilities on top of our network. It's ongoing. So for the regulatory part, balancing between automation and also fulfilling and respecting what local regulatory, because we don't have one regulatory, we have several regulatory requirements. France is not the same like Poland, Romania, Belgium. So we need to take all into account. So I will divide what we are doing at Orange into area, technical point of view and cultural point of view. I will start with the culture. The culture point of view, what we are doing is to foster our collaboration with the regulatory and the stakeholders. In France, Orange is deeply involved and engaged with what we call ANSSI. ANSSI is the regulatory instance which frame and guide and make all the recommendations in terms of API exposure, data usage, and accessing all the platform and exposing the data to our partners or using our data. This is fundamental. And then we have also promoting what we call a culture of responsibility by training the developers, the architects, and the ops teams so that they can be aware about the compliance, the security aspect, requirement, and also ethical consideration when it comes to operation and automating everything. So encouraging accountability at all levels will support or will enable the way we are compliant and respecting the local regulatory in each country. From the technical point of view, this is classical. It's having and building a strong governance framework to really share and promote the security aspect in our APIs, the way we are exposing our API, and be ready for any audit, could be internal or external, so that we are ready with the logs, with all the RACI metrics, the split of responsibility on who is able to access the platform, and so on. And also working with the regulatory principle, not designing our own rules, but working to fit the regulatory local regulatory principle in our operations. And 2 years ago, we have a kind of internal review to check if what we are recommending and implementing fit with what the auditor will come and check as a kind of checklist. And this helps to really be accountable and also fulfill the requirements locally in each affiliate. Finally, with automation, but this is still to be done, to implement what we call continuous monitoring and validation so that we can run it all time to check if we are still compliant or not. This requires right tools, right strategy of automation to check all the compliance in terms of security, to be sure that if we are audited, we'll not be paying penalties because we are not good at this area.
Yeah, thank you, Alexis.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a personal question from my side. We still have like 10 minutes, and I'd like to hear like a quick example from each of your organization. So from your perspective, what is honestly the biggest challenge in moving toward fully autonomous network? Is it the technology, the people, or the process? Who would like to start?
I can start because I think this is I think the biggest challenge from what I see from my position is the people, is the culture. People, culture.
Okay.
I'm talking about culture. And I usually say that culture is eating your strategy at breakfast and also your methodology, agile, safe, Scrum at lunch, and now your AI at dinner, means the technology. Because if you don't work on the culture, the way people are behaving, working, collaborating, your strategy can be the best one in the world. Your methodology or your technology could be the best one, but they will not be implemented in the right way. So focus on the culture mindset shift for me is the biggest challenge. Becoming AI-driven centric is not easy. Easy to say, very hard to master. Becoming agentic ops, human working with a machine is not natural. It's a kind of human to shift his mind to really embrace and accept to work or part of his job is done by a machine. This is not really easy to master. You can have kind of resistance to change or resistance to work with a machine. So definitely for me, it's people and the culture of your people or your company.
Okay, thank you. Seda?
Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I would fully agree with Alex. I mean, everything starts with people, right? I mean, it's really important to make sure that whatever we are implementing with technology is going to be adopted by the organizations and the people. Therefore, I mean, I really recommend it, right? I mean, not boiling the ocean and taking it like a full transformation, as George was also alluding to, right? Really finding the right use cases, which is delivering the value and the outcomes, and then let the people explore, see the benefits, and then gradually we can evolve the adoption, and we can scale. So for me, it's the combination of the technology and people experiencing it, adopting it, and then we are scaling over time.
Okay. George, is it technology, people, or processes the biggest challenge?
If only it was just one. I think what I'm actually saying is that, we're talking about autonomous networks, but to achieve an autonomous networks, you have to change your IT and you have to embrace and adopt and implement AI. So we've almost got like 3 technology changes happening at once. It was hard enough whenever we were trying to drive transformation or change into the IT department, we could leave the network teams alone. Now we're bringing them all together. And that mix of changing the technology as well as changing the approach, Alexis alluded to it, whenever you're now saying, here's my process, the first 3 steps are done by people, the next 8 steps are done by machines or agents, and the final step is done by a person, you're actually taking a step back and you're completely looking at the problem from a different perspective. And I fear I've stolen Henry Ford's quote, which I'm saying is, whenever you're designing an autonomous network, Have you set out to try and build faster horses, or are you actually designing a tractor? And I fear that many organizations are taking AI,
Yeah.
they're taking their network operational processes, they're applying AI to it, and they're automating those processes, and they're getting a set of faster horses. They're missing out on the opportunity to build a tractor, and it takes a different mindset. So not only are you disrupting the people in terms of the way they used to do things, you have to find the visionaries within your organization who can actually design the tractors, who can look at the problem from a different perspective, who can look at the risk from a different perspective. And, if you take something like network resilience was done within the technology previously. Now we're actually going to do network resilience with the technology. That's a different mindset. So not only am I changing how I design my networks, how I manage my networks, how I operate the networks, the technology I use to do it, it's all happening at once. And therefore, to try and pick technology, people, or process, that's like asking me which of my children are my favorite. It's an impossible decision to make. I think
That's a
all
good
are changing
example.
at once, and we have to find a path through that transformation that actually, as Seda said, we start small, we prove out the concept, we pilot it, and we roll it out then at scale. And I personally have had the pleasure of visiting Guangdong and the China Mobile Dark Knock just a few weeks ago. And what they've done there is truly impressive in terms of their adoption of autonomous networks. But they started small from a Chinese perspective, and they've then piloted it and they've rolled it out and tested it at scale. And when I talk about at scale, in Guangdong, they were supporting 300 plus million customers on solutions that most of our other members are still having in the labs and are testing in the labs. They've got it rolled out at scale. And that's the pattern that I see that allows you to adopt autonomous networks safely. Isolate the area, transform it to a standard pattern that is future-proof, use a technical solution package, implement it, test it, prove it, and then scale it.
That's great, George. I really like the example. Lee, would you like to add anything? Do you think the biggest challenge is
Yeah.
technology, people, or process?
First of all, that's a very good question. And then I couldn't agree more with both Alexis and Seda just mentioned. Technology is not the most important thing in the evolution of autonomous network. In my opinion, maybe there are two very important lessons we learned from our working in autonomous network. First, I think the biggest challenge is organizational alignment.
Yeah.
Moving from siloed KPIs to an integrated framework requires different teams to speak the same value language. So we address this by starting with high value scenarios and proving the ROA just by doing the work in pilot province, just as George mentioned. And the second lesson I'd like to share is that we should start with a business outcome, not the technology. The temptation to deploy AI everywhere is very strong, but value should come from picking the scenario which AI really change the economic of operations, then scale from there. So
as my sharing. And thanks for everyone's opinion. It's really insightful.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. I'd like to thank you all. So we're almost done, our 1 hour. I'd like to thank you all for your great insight. And it was a great webinar. I really like the interaction, your perspective, your point of view. I'd like to thank TM Forum for their partnership for this webinar. And hopefully to all audience who couldn't attend today to watch, you will be able to watch it hopefully after a few days because the whole session is recorded and you can see it on all Telecom Review channels, hopefully. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.